Okay. So this is your easiest way of getting started with Scala, especially those people who are like completely new to it, and sometimes the syntax will be quite mysterious to you as well. Okay, because uh, this syntax many a times is quite a spaghetti type of code, especially for those very methodical Java programmers, right? So I typically suggest that you try your code in the interactive shell. If it works good, it is guaranteed that it is going to work in your files also. And again, I think this is something which I told yesterday as well, that even though it appears as an interpreter, actually the code is, whatever you are going to type is actually going to be converted to the byte code, and then it would be executed as well, right? So now as soon as you typed, you will get your Scala this thing. The screenshots which you are seeing here are typically of, we have taken from the VM, but it is just for the sake of convenience. I'm right now showing it from the Windows system. Results are not going to differ. Okay. Anyway, let's then just get started with it, and just a second with it. Now, let me just say, I mean, anything, right? 1 plus 2. The basic mathematics. So now the point here is, from your own experiences, whatever you are carrying, what exactly is a typical difference which you see here between Java and, let's say, if you were to try the same kind of a statement in you were to try the very same kind of a statement in Java, what would have happened, and versus what are you seeing right now as something different on your screen? Anybody? See, this would be our way of, this will be our way of interacting. Right. Dharmendra is quite good about it. Right. Dharmendra's answer is very good. Yes, variable is definitely assigned. Yes, there is no REPL in Java. Sure. But what I'm trying to say here is, see guys, now this, and whenever I ask, right, whatever is in your mind in the terms of answer, please do type it, don't hesitate, because this gives me the way you are thinking. Okay, this gives me an idea about it. See this, 1 plus 2, which is int equal to 3. Did you anywhere define int 1 or int 2? You never defined it, right? You never defined the type of the integer. I mean, sorry, whatever value or variable you call it. It is given as res 0. If let's say I type it here again, I say 1 plus 20. Since you are in the same session, it is assigning res1, which is again int, and probably the answer is whatever, 21 or something, right? So whatever you are seeing right now did some kind of auto boxing for 1 and 2 and derived their types, right? Java will anyway not give you the output, but here, see this. What is happening is you are not specifying it. Scala is trying to interpret it. Scala sees that, okay, these are two different things which are being supplied to me as kind of a command, and then it just says, okay, both of them fit to the integer, and it is definitely an integer. This is something called the type inference. Okay, this is something called type inference, right, Santosh? So Santosh has a nice exercise for me wherein he says, can you do 1 plus 2 plus hello and see what the result is? Okay, I will do it for you, but in one condition. You need to tell me what should happen or what would happen. Now your counter argument can be that, Vishal, I'm new to Scala, but this is where the point is. We need to apply our thoughts. Right. Many people are correct on it. Let me just do this. So I would say 1 plus 2 plus Googly. Googly, isn't it? How many of you thought about it? Right? It is the googly for all of you. That's why I wanted to see. See, this is the basic difference here, right? And in fact, you can do a lot of other things, right? So it is doing it one by one by one, right? And it is not that, I mean, so these are some of those things, right, which will come out. And I could have probably just skipped it or something, but aren't you seeing that from the first command itself, there is something new about this language, isn't it? So one thing which I can tell you about it is whatever time I'm spending with you, it is not going to be more than 3 hours, but you need to spend by yourself at least 6 hours in a week or plus, you know, doing those kind of basic practices, even if it seems very, very basic. You know, you'll see a lot of surprises in Scala. So anyway, rather than, and I typically like to do these things on system itself. So the answers come automatically and my work of explanation goes away. So this line, again, let's just come back to the slide for some more seconds. So you can see that this line is kind of, you know, it creates an automatically generated name. Since I have not defined, you know, variable, it has assigned RES. The reason behind RES is it is result. RES stands for result. So RES 0, first result, second result, so on and so forth, right? And then, so this equal sign and all is, it's all about it. But now before I go into some other things, I could have simply said this as well. If I would have said A is equal to, do you think it will follow? It will work? Okay. Do you think it will work? Because if somebody says no or yes or whatever, I would ask the reasons also, right? And you will realize that the answers would come from whatever we have learned. Okay, let me fire it. So what is it? A is not defined. Okay. So what do you mean by A is not defined? Now, so Jacob, you must have seen that it is not going to work here, right? Now, let me just change it a bit. So Vamsi, if you say that you didn't tell Scala how to interpret A, did you still tell? Are you telling now that how to interpret it? You still didn't tell, but you did a proper declaration. So the point here is this behavior of Scala is completely different, not only from Java, it is completely different even from the languages like Python, like Ruby. If I would have installed Ruby or Python for that matter, and I would have typed A is equal to 1 plus 2 plus high, though the behavior would be different, but I would have got the result. Okay, I would have got the result. So now I will explain about this. Your variable declaration is mandatory if you are supplying a variable name. Now, when I talk about variable declaration, you need to tell that actually not variable, it's kind of an object which is being created. Okay, so you need to tell whether the object is of the type val or of the type var. Okay, now something new, right? I hope you guys are finding yourself engaged in it, right? And I'm not trying to kind of overcomplicate the things for you. I will return back to val and var. For now, I think not for now, you can just get an idea about it, that the difference between, okay, let me not talk about it. Let me show something to you. Because, you know, many times examples are the best ways to explain the concepts rather than talking about them. Now, I would say, so guys, what should be the output this time? I'm saying val A is equal to 1 plus 2 plus hi Vishal. What should be the output? Right? 2 plus hi Vishal. Okay. So Animesh, right? 3 hi Vishal. 1 plus 1, 2 hi Vishal. Okay. Very good. Let me just enter. Right. Now, just a second. In fact, this is something new which is happening. Just a sec. A is equal to this. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm making a mistake, guys. Sorry. The way I'm showing it is wrong. Let me just come back and say val A is equal to 1 plus 2 plus hi. Okay. Done with it. Now I'm saying go back and yep. Is it working? I hope it should work, right? What do you guys think? It's gonna work or it's not? Okay. Now it will work. Great. So it is very good poll. Error. Why? Right. So there are some people who are already from a Scala background. So I'm not taking your views, guys. I'm not taking your views. But yes, those people who are not. Now I'm changing my statement a bit. Okay. And then I'm firing it once more. Saw that action? So what is the difference? Okay. Completely agreed. If somebody did not get it, not a problem. Please bluntly type that I didn't get it. I'm here to explain. Right. Not a problem, Satya. Not a problem, Chandra. And others. Very good. Okay. So not wasting much of the time. First of all, guys, there are two ways I could have shown the things. I could have shown it in the slide, talked about it, and run the example. And then explained you the concept of val and var. Versus, I just did it and didn't explain about val and var. So there are two different approaches of taking the same concept. Whatever way you like, you need to tell me. Is this approach good, or you want me to stick to the other approach? Whatever way, because this way I feel that I always force you to, you know, look at the screen and then apply your mind continuously rather than, you know. Okay, thank you for, you know, confirming it. Thank you, guys. So now the point here is those people who didn't understand it, guys. Val, the moment you say val is just like your static final variables. I mean, basically they are constants. So if you say static, you know, final variable, you just define something as final, and whatever value you assign to that so-called variable or object or whatever, right? You cannot reassign it, right? It becomes a constant. So val a is equal to 1 plus 2 plus high. Actually, whatever I assign to it, till the time I kept saying val a is equal to something, val a is equal to something, I was able to assign. But once you have assigned it, once you have initialized it, second time when you try to assign another value, and if it was a val, you cannot assign it because it's a constant. It is treated as a constant. But the moment you said var, right? Var is something which is mutable, or which is actually a variable, as the name says, right? Var, right? Var still. So you have just said var, and then whatever you are trying to assign, then no problem. Whatever you want to assign it on a later date, you can do it. Is this clear? Satya? Clear? Others? Clear? Right? Great. Only thing is, guys, in this approach, you might lose a track a bit, right? Especially if you're not paying attention. You need to stop me. Rather than stopping, you can just say, I didn't get it. I can come back to you, people. Okay? Right. Harsh, so I will come to those, these are some of the things which I have to cover in the coming classes also. Scala basics. Okay? Now, coming back quickly here. By the way, whatever you said is correct. 1 plus 2 is equal to 1 dot plus 2, completely okay. Okay? Can you try a is equal to 4 plus 5 now? Okay? So let me just say a is equal to 4 plus 5. Before I try, what do you think should happen? Venkat and others. Venkat, I'm waiting for your response. Others are replying. Right. Now, I was actually waiting for this kind of question because anyway I was logically coming to this point. Why is this happening? This will bring, everybody has said, yes, it will work. And it did not. But what if I would have said, so what is the message? Can somebody try to connect the dots? I mean, see, there is another drawback of this approach. What happens is, many times we just keep focus on the current example. We just keep forgetting what happened in the previous examples, right? And it is always my effort to connect the dots. Then only your story is complete, and then only you are able to understand the concept, right? So what is your, if you have to connect the previous example and this example from the very start, what is the concept which came out? Though I wanted to cover this concept on a later date or a bit later in some more slides, but anyway, it's completely good. Okay, so you people are trying. Can I help you all in some way? Can I say, could you please type it in a sentence like you typically say, right? Java is a dash 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 language which dash 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 dash. Similarly, Scala, can you say something like that? The reason is I'm just trying to extract that concept from you, nothing else. So Java is a statically typed language. If you remember, sorry, not Java, basically Scala. If you remember, I covered this part yesterday. Right? You remember? We talked about it. Right? There was a proper slide. I do remember this. Guys, and you can see that statically typed language in action. Okay? So, not Java, basically Chandra, it is about Scala. Scala is a statically typed language which supports type inference. Okay, so once either you assign a type of variable, or if it has found a type of variable, then till the time it is there in scope, you cannot change it. I hope everybody got the answer, right? Venkat, your question was bang on the time. Right? Okay, Santosh says, can I ask you a question? Did it evaluate 4 plus 5 first and then compare the type with the result variable? 4 plus 5 first and exactly. You can actually see this. Right, Santosh? I hope you are getting your answer here. It has definitely evaluated it to. Right? It just saw that there is an integer here. But yes, if you're talking about computation, it didn't do the entire computation. Right, almost on the same lines. Almost on the same lines. Though more details on that side, probably from the architecture side, or kind of what is actually happening on the JVM. You know, for Scala, probably some of those things might differ, because in fact I also have not explored it that much on that side. But yes, it is almost on the same lines. Okay, Santosh? Okay, anyway, coming back quickly, I hope you have got the answer, right? Makes sense. Great, great. Thanks, Santosh. Okay, so that was about a bit taste, you know, of Scala, I would say, which we got. And I think I'll cover these small things a bit later, kind of. But still, if just I would show it to you, assuming that nobody is going to ask this question to me, what is happening? Okay, so don't worry about it. I'll just say kind of what I'm trying to show you here is that you can definitely define some of the, oops, what's wrong? Okay, just a second. You know, I made a mistake of copy pasting it from, what's wrong? Something is wrong here. Okay, I don't want to take any chance. I just always keep on goofing up. Just a second, guys. Right. Okay. And then let me call is palindrome to mom, probably not found. These are some of the okay. I think it's okay. I'll just yeah, typos, and that's why I typically keep avoiding typing into this, because if there is no ID or something, especially for all of my other codes and all, I have kept them in my ID in order to avoid actually the exact same kind of mistakes. Don't worry, I'll come back to this. Don't worry. Now, so guys, this was a bit about Scala, how to kind of run our code and other things in the I would say shell, or I would say on the REPL side. But let's say if you were supposed to run some of the things, you have written some code in your scripts, right? In your files. Typically, you write your Java files and all Java codes in your files, right? And you save your files as whatever class name, not Java, something. So here, though the rules are a bit different in Scala world, okay? So I would typically go for, okay, Scala hands-on. I have just created a folder here. I'll come back to Scala SBT when I'll show you the demo of SBT itself. But now I'm just opening a hello world.scala, and this is basically to show you that what have I written. It is a simple print command, no class, no object, no definition of a function, nothing, right? It is a simple println. Right, guys? Are you seeing this? Creating your Scala program sometimes is as good as just open up a file, write whatever commands you're trying to write, and then save it and then fire it up. Right? So now I'm going to show you that if I just want to call it from the command prompt, how exactly it is supposed to be done. Right? Again, these are some of the baby steps which we are taking today, right? Because next day onwards, our pace would be much better, or I would say much faster. Okay? Especially those people who are from Java background. Again, these things would be completely out of the world for you, right? You can't even imagine this happening in Java. So now, simple way. You want to just fire it up. You just say, what is that? Hello world.scala. It takes a bit more time, especially on Windows. I don't know why. I was called from command line. Now, let's give it a twist here. And this twist will be very simple. Line 1 something. What do you think? This time, should the time be same, or should the time be less, or should the time be more? And if you say same or more or less, why? Okay, let's see this. Different in my guess, so there is no compilation coming into picture. It is basically auto-compile. Yes, it is auto-compile. This is another change which you are seeing. So in fact, you can actually fire something called Scala C, which I'm not going to do right now, which probably I'll show you when I'll be talking about the classes and other stuff, right? That would make much more sense there. I'm just trying to keep the things very, very simple. Let's just enjoy the language, or let's just find out that, yes, what are the different ways? It's kind of one ABCD kind of a session today, right? So things would be a bit more complicated when we'll move towards kind of OOPS concepts and other things, in the coming session. Is this quite clear to everybody? So it's a stark difference from the Java world, right? There are strict rules that your file name should be same as your class name, and it's about, so it was basically, guys, first time it was about the fire up time, right? For the first time when I fired it up, about initiating your JVM and all that stuff, that has happened for the first time. From the second time onwards, even though there was a compilation, but that initial thing had happened already, right? But if I close this window, clear it up, open up another one, and then try doing this, it would again take time for the first time. Okay, Satya? And however, these things differ a bit from a system to the other one. So here, there is no step of compilation. You are directly running your code. That's another big difference, right? Guys, can I kind of get some confirmation and all that you guys are following it up here? And these are some minor differences, isn't it? But you will realize that 30 minutes of such session, only 30 minutes. These are small things, okay? But after 30 minutes, you will realize if you try to compile all of these things, you have actually seen a big change, right? Some small changes. If you just see the behavior which you have seen in last some 30 minutes or so, you can see that. It takes some time to get adjusted. Great. Now, let me go to the next thing, which I'm trying to show. Okay, so I'll come back to the slide, and I think that would be SBT for creating, building, and running a simple Scala project. And we should be very happy that I have already set up a Scala SBT project for you, because when you will follow my, these steps on your system for the first time, I'll come to that. I'll come to SBT, right? So when you will follow my steps for the first time, especially on your Windows, or even for that matter, your Ubuntu environment or another Linux environment and all, the first run is going to take much longer. Okay, so now without wasting any further time, it's about what is SBT. So SBT stands for Simple Build Tool. Okay, Simple Build Tool. So typically you would have created your simple Java projects, right? Now you can create a simple Java project which is kind of probably having some 2-3 classes or something, and then you don't really need to do anything about it, right? Just create whatever package it is and just create your whatever is your main class, and you want to create some jar or something. It just completely depends on your requirement. You can either create the jar by yourself, or you can go for some sort of build tools, right? Like Ant. Then you have Maven. Maven typically requires you to have a certain kind of a directory structure of your project, right? That you should always have a pom.xml, then you should have src, then you should have resources and things like that, right? I'm not going into those details. But yes, so they typically follow the concept of COC. Have you heard about it? COC? Right. So, okay, not a problem. COC is typically called convention over configuration. Okay, convention over configuration. So typically these kind of projects and all, they typically want you to follow a specific convention, okay, and then leave the remaining configuration to these apps. You just keep putting your classes, you just keep putting, give the standard directory structure and things like that. Whatever are the conventions, just follow them, and then whatever work you do is automatically taken care by the tool. Whereas there are some tools which go for the configuration side, talk about struts and others. I'm deviating a bit here for some 2-3 minutes, but it's kind of a extended concept, right? Which typically comes with these discussions, right? So struts and all, you talk about it, you'll have to go for almost everything as your own configuration, right? So they typically leave everything for the configuration side, and what typically happens in those cases is your programmers or whatever, developers and all, they spend more time in the configuration rather than doing the actual business logic, right? So typically there is a different movement or different kind of software. Talk about Ruby on Rails, talk about Play, talk about even this Scala, SBT, Maven, and these are different kind of tools which are solving different business problems for you. right? Like talk about Maven or SBT, they are going to solve the build problems for you, right? So they say, hey, you know what? Just follow a specific convention and then leave the rest build and other things for us, right? So this is like, okay, is it like Maven COC? Okay, Maven COC. I have not heard about Maven COC. COC for me is convention over configuration. Okay, so Harsh, probably something new for me as well. I'll have to check. Or okay, now coming back quickly here. So it is just like your Maven kind of a build tool. Okay, now there are some insider things, right? So it actually uses Maven because right, your entire Scala is a Java-based kind of or is a JVM language, and you can call Java programs from Scala, Scala programs from Java. In fact, it is quite possible for you to create a Scala project through Maven. It is possible, but again, these are some of those uncharted waters wherein you'll face some difficulties. Okay, so typically we suggest to create your projects and all through SBT if you are working in Scala. Okay, great. So are you trying to say the configuration is minimal or there is no configuration at all? The configuration is quite minimal or almost kind of nil. Okay. Yes, there are annotations and other things which is quite supported in Scala as well. You have different kinds of annotations, though the meaning of annotations again would be a bit different. Okay, and we are not covering annotations here because we don't really need them, especially up to the kind of projects which we are creating. But yes, having said that, as I told that, yes, it is available. I can definitely guide you on those parts, and you can pick it up on your own if you're interested on Scala side. Santosh? Okay. So now I will come back quickly. Santosh, I hope you have got the answer. I'm moving on to the next part. Great. Now, Scala SBT. Okay, there was a question again wherein Vamsi was asking, so what is the difference between SBT and non-SBT kind of app? I have created a demo Scala in non-SBT. There is absolutely no difference, Vamsi. It's same as creating a Java project by yourself and not using Ant or for that matter, Maven or even Ivy, right? You can go ahead and you can create it and you can compile, set your class path, and then go ahead and create your project. There is absolutely no problem. Like, right, Vamsi? And why am I showing it to you? Because anyway, I'm not going to use it. For the coming 3 modules, I'm not even going to use it. The reason is that when you will be working on Spark projects and all, then typically what happens is most of those Scala projects and all, even if you will start it, of course your first steps would be quite simple, right? You will be starting from hello world and then for the next one, then for the next one kind of a thing. But whatever is the latest GitHub repositories you will find, they will typically be in the SBT. They will typically be in the SBT. Yes, Harsh, I'm anyway coming to that. So there is a reason due to which we are going to SBT right now. The reason is, if I show you SBT things and all at that point of time when the focus is on Spark, then it would be kind of a deviation, right? Vamsi, others, right? Now I'll come to the SBT and file structure and other stuff. And though the file structure which I'm going to show you is going to be a quite minimalistic kind of a thing, which you just require it, though there are many extensions which are possible, and SBT is much more easier as compared to Maven and all. Probably as a part of further reading, I can share some of the links also with you, wherein you can actually see how to create even more complicated projects. Okay? Harsh, Santosh, others? SBT like Maven archetype kind of thing, which is the structure for the Scala project. Exactly. Santosh, you are completely on the right lines. Uh, okay. Now I'll go back. So Vamsi, I'm waiting for your response. I'm not sure whether you are in front of your system. Okay. Now Scala SBT. See, Scala SBT is just a name. Okay. It is sure. Thanks, Vamsi, for confirming. Whatever project name you want to give, you can give that project name. Okay. You are supposed to create only one folder called SRC if your project is going to have, okay, if your you're just going to have only and only source code with you. There might be some of the cases where you might be needing some of the artifacts or some of the supporting files, right? Then probably in some SBT projects, so that's why, like Vamsi was trying to Google SBT, you might also be trying to do it. So I'm just saying for now, right now, if you just focus on it, I'm just showing you the skeleton here. Okay, there are 10 more layers which are available on, which are possible on it. So like in a typical Maven project, you can see that resources and all, right? You might find a resources kind of a folder here. There might be some of the scripts, not just a Scala script, some other scripts. Let's say some Python scripts you want in a specific project which you are building with SBT, right? So there you might be finding some of the scripts folders, okay? Some of the configuration files and all, right? So they are quite possible. I'm not going into that. For now, in order to create a bare minimum Scala project, you have created a SRC folder. It is almost same as Maven, okay? Now, if you go to SRC, typical main Scala. Now, after this, if you are following a kind of a package structure, okay, like which in all the probabilities you would be following, okay. But right now, since I'm showing you a kind of, this is the first day and kind of very simple example, let me just show you what is Hello Scala, and it should again come as a surprise to you, right guys? Isn't it a kind of a surprise? And if it is, then what is the surprise element for you? Can you quickly reply back? Right. So there is no class. It is directly some object. Right? So right now, just forget about it. What is written? Right? So Santosh has replied. What about others? Vamsi, Harsh, Partha, others, right? There is an object. It is not a class. Right? Yes, so I will come to that, Santosh. I think this is not really the right time, because right now the focus is on some of the basic, peripheral things. There is a separate session itself on it. Okay? Yes, so Jacob, all of those things would be answered. Why it extends app, right? So for now, just kind of keep it as a wrapper. Right now the focus is that if you are having your kind of some project structure, let's say com.edureka.examples, then within SRC main and Scala, you will be having those structures also, right? Com, then Edureka, within that Scala, within that or Scala example, within that you will be having hello.scala, okay? So the point here is, whatever is the kind of project you are just trying to create, you will just have, your project, or I would say your program files under SRC folder, point one. And then, just like you have pom.xml in Maven, this is a very simplistic project wherein whatever name you want to give, you can give. Organization is equal to Scala, that's fine. The name of the project which I'm giving is Hello SBT, okay? The version which I'm mentioning is, version is something which will be used for whatever, jar would be created for it, it would be used. And then Scala version, it is whatever Scala version. So sometimes you might be having your own version, as you have seen that I am using 2.10 point something, right? Whereas I am using Scala version is equal to some other one, right? And this, believe me, this is only 1% of the possibilities. There is a whole big list. There can be a separate course on SBT itself. I'm not really going into that direction because it's like whenever we would be, so for all practical purposes, especially in order to deal with Spark, we would be dealing with some minimal kind of features of SBT, right? That's the overall purpose, that there are some of the basic things which you can set up here. These are some of the basic things which you will be seeing in your Spark projects also. Okay, is that clear? Is that clear to everybody? So what's the name? Is it then the name of the project folder? Right. So it is definitely the name of the project folder. This name can be anything. There is absolutely, just a second. I think, have I closed it? No. This name could be anything. Instead of hello, you have seen that, right? My project, my folder name was Scala SBT, but my name is Hello SBT. It could be any name. Okay, Animesh? Now, quickly coming back, can you show what should be created when you run it? Yes, I'm going to show you. Anyway, so you can say SBT package. It is unnecessarily going to take some time. So just like you say ambient package, right? So just like that, there is, this target folder which is created, and then you will see unnecessary a lot of things. Some resolve.xml and all that stuff would be there. Through this, what happens is all of these are some of the runtime settings which are created. Since it's a Scala project, you would not see some dot classes, right? If you were expecting some sort of dot classes, you would not get those dot classes here. Okay. So what would happen in this case is that it will just create the wrapper on the top of your JVM and all, and then if you go back and if you just say, okay, I think I have to go to Scala SBT, just a second. Scala SBT, CLS, and then I would just say SBT run. This will be very fast this time. I am hoping it to be fast. Come on. Right. Running high. Why did it happen? There are again so many possibilities that it is impossible to discuss all of them right now in the class itself. That you can actually say that Hello SBT is right now a class which is, or it's right now an object which is having println. It's the only object which is available to you. You might be having, let's say, 10 different number of classes and objects also available to you. Then in that case, just like it happens, you should have a main class. Okay, so there would definitely be a class with a main method, and you have to specify that in the build.spd. It's just like manifest, right? And then the same, and if you do not specify anything, then it would always hit the same main class. If you are having more than one classes which are having a main method available, okay, they are typically, and main method, by the way, in Scala, typically the main method would not be there in any class. It would be there in something called a companion object. So all of this thing might be seeming a bit I would say alien to you. That's why I'm not covering all those things right away. It would unnecessarily confuse you because there is a separate discussion on OOPS concept itself. Okay, but anyway, coming back to the point, just like you define your main class and other things in your manifest.xml, in the same way you can do nearly the same thing in Scala as well. Okay, in SBT as well. Now the point here is, as Santosh is mentioning, and others, some others also have mentioned, is this necessary for you to create an SBT project in order to work with Spark? If this is a question, right, Santosh? I hope probably you might be having somewhere this question in your mind, and not only you, might be others also, Vamsi and others also, right? The answer is no, definitely no. Till the time you are creating very simple or middle complexity projects, right? Scala is very, very good with it. But though I would honestly agree, I myself have not created a project which is, I mean to say, Scala project, Spark Scala project, which is kind of having almost some 40-50 classes plus, right? I never needed that. I think the recent setup which we are doing right now, it involves hardly 12 classes. Okay, so that is still manageable. But yes, if you are really going for multiple packages, multiple classes and all, then and a lot of other external, plugins, which whatever you require, then typically the build.sbt and sbt project would make a sense for you. Otherwise, you can put your code into whatever directory structure you want, and just you can invoke the main method, and the typical way, right? You invoke your main class, and that main class takes care of everything. You can do that. Because anyway, you don't have to worry about the compilation part. The biggest headache for the Java projects is it's all about setting up the class paths and all, right? Right, guys? So Animesh, Vamsi, Santosh, I know that I have kind of told the very common question which must be there in everybody's mind, right? Definitely, definitely. So I will always prefer, see, my point here is, since I am here as an instructor, and I definitely should give you enough of those things. Whenever you will go back to the Spark project or try to find something, you should not be kind of surprised by finding out something called .sbt file. Sorry, right, build.sbt file, right? At least you should have an idea. You can create it separately by yourself. No issues at all. Okay. In fact, in the VM, I have created another a bit more complex kind of a project, but unnecessary. It is just for the sake of demonstrations. Okay. Anyway, guys, so the point was not to give you the idea about the object, not to give you the point about the class, because anyway, these are some of the things which we will cover later. The point here was the message which I wanted to convey was that there are multiple ways in which you can interact with the Scala, depending upon how complicated you want your I would say interaction. You want it very, very simple. Go ahead and try and play with it using REPL. You want to put it something in the production kind of a thing, very good. Try with scripts and all. You want to be very sophisticated and you are coming from Java world, and you want typically some good tools and all. Typically there are some people who ask for it, right? Then the answer is SBT. Even you can try Maven, but Maven would be painful for Scala.